Guys, I am so happy. This is going to be a very happy episode of the Zachary Brown broadcast. As I am recording this, we have less than 24 hours until the first NTT IndyCar Series race session. I am so excited. And during this time, not just in IndyCar, but around the rest of the racing paddock, particularly in Formula One, everybody and their mother is putting out predictions. So that's going to be the main basis of this broadcast. Here are going to be not just my NTT IndyCar Series predictions, but also Formula One, and who knows, maybe I'll throw some other predictions in there as well. Now, before I lay down my predictions, I want to get one thing perfectly clear, okay? Do not put any real life money that you have on, like, betting anything because of this, all right? I'm surprised I have to say it, but you'd be surprised by the amount of people I see who are, like, gambling online right now. And I have no problem with gambling. But if someone comes up to me and says, hey, I lost all my money because your predictions were wrong on episode, 9 of the Zachary Brown broadcast, I'm going to be very sad, all right? And I don't think I can handle that. I would have to cancel the broadcast for sure because I'd just wallow in self-pity. I'd pull a Brian Wilson, all right? I'd sleep in my bed for like 3 years and get like really fat. But without like making the good music part. He actually made music then, and I wouldn't make good music, or I guess in this case broadcasts. I wouldn't make a broadcast. I just wallow in my self-pity. Okay. We are going to start with Formula One. And I would say this is unique, but it's not. A bunch of other people have done this. But I'm gonna make a bingo card, all right, of my Formula One predictions. I'm not going to make a bingo card of my IndyCar predictions because I just don't have enough. But my Formula One predictions will be on a bingo card, and I will link it in the description of this broadcast here so that you guys can play along, all right? So without further ado, let's start off the bingo card. In the first square on the top left, we will be going from the top left. We'll be going left, right, down, like you're reading a book, all right? If you don't get it, then too bad. I hit the mic there. I'm not sure if you guys heard it. My first prediction for the 2026 Formula One season is that the Madrid Grand Prix is not terrible. Emphasis on terrible, okay? I'm not saying it's going to be good. I'm not saying we're going to get like a race worthy of like talking about in like 20 years. But I'm not saying like originally a bunch of people were saying that the Grand Prix would have to be canceled because the track wouldn't be built in time. But looking at the current stat, and I don't live in Madrid, so I don't know the smaller stuff, but looking at the bigger stuff, like what's been being posted like online and stuff, it looks like the track will be done in time, and it looks like Formula One will race in Madrid. So yeah, that is my first call of the 2026 Formula One season, is that the Madrid Grand Prix is not terrible. Next square, all right? And this one, all right. And obviously, like, some of these predictions are going to be very bold, and then some of these, like, it's a bingo card, you know. I gotta put in like some freebies in there because you always have a little bit of freebies. By the way, there is a free space in the middle, and it's just the FIA is the real villain. I think you guys know why. But yeah, this is one of those. It's probably gonna happen, so it's more of a freebie, but I'm still putting it on there because it's a good prediction. Second square, Ferrari fucks up the strategy in Australia. It's pretty self-explanatory. I think they're going to do that. Moving on to the next square, all right? And this one may ruffle some feathers because some people say they're sandbagging the car and other people say that they're just genuinely ass. But for the third square, Mercedes not as dominant as we thought. Everybody's been talking about the engine. Everybody's been talking about the new regulations and such. And I think that Mercedes is not going to be the top team, or at least the team that people think or thought that Mercedes was going to be. I'm not saying that they're out of the championship. I'm just saying I don't think they've built like a W11 like they did in 2020, you know? I don't think they've built like a literal rocket. Um but yeah, that is the third square. Mercedes not as dominant as we thought. For the fourth square here, all right? And this one's a bit of a prediction, but I will put in some evidence that will back up my claim, all right? I learned that in English, all right? You got to do that. Liam Lawson gets sacked by Racing Bulls at the end of the season. I believe that 2026 will be Liam Lawson's last season in Formula One. And the reason I believe that is that he's been on the grid. If you're not counting 2023, when he did that little stint for Ricardo. Well, first off, by the way, Liam Lawson, it's so hard to gauge like his rookie year because people will say like Formula One said his rookie year was in 2025, like last year, but it obviously wasn't because he had that stint where he replaced Ricardo towards the end, like in the middle of like the 2023 season, like when Ricardo broke it. I think he broke his wrist at I think it was Zandvoort. Yeah, it was Zandvoort. And then he replaced Ricardo after Singapore in 2024. So he had plenty of experience driving a Formula One car during a Grand Prix race session. Multiple Grand Prix race sessions. And so that's just that. Anyway, my rant's over. I think this will be his last year of being able to drive in a Formula One Grand Prix session. And I think, yeah, it's fuck. How do I word this? Lawson is not. A bunch of people I think were like in the Red Bull camp were thinking that Lawson was going to be this like great driver. Like not necessarily like the talent of Verstappen per se, but maybe like their next Ricardo, you know? Like he had like bold moves and stuff. But the problem is that he's almost too bold and he just wrecks the car a lot. And that's why he got sacked from Red Bull and got put back in the Toro Rosso slash AlphaTauri slash Minardi slash Visa Cash App Racing Bulls slash Pearl Harbor was justified slash someone kill me now, I can't think of anything else. Racing Bulls. So yeah, Liam Lawson will get sacked and he will go either because remember Ford, I think Liam Lawson is going to enter. He's going to like remember Ford has come in as an engine they're not officially the engine manufacturer, but it's technically Red Bull powertrains, but it's Ford. It's fucking Ford. And Ford is entering a car into the 2027 IMSA and World Endurance Championship seasons. And I think Liam Lawson will go there. I think he will be a Red Bull reserve. I think he'll kind of be in the spot that Yuki Tsunoda is right now. You know, he may drive like some show cars around the world like a little bit, do some donuts like in the streets. But I don't think he's going to drive in a Formula 1 car. Again. But I could be wrong. That's one of my more bold predictions. Like I said, don't go gambling like your life savings on these, all right? And this actually kind of segues pretty nicely into my last prediction for the top row of my F1 bingo card. And that is VCarb goes back to being ass. And what I mean by that is that VCarb had an incredible 2025 season. Um, a lot of top tens. I believe they finished P6 in the standings. Yes, they finished P6 in the standings behind Williams. And a lot of those Williams points came from the double podium, the two Sainz podiums. So I'll just grant it as a double podium. But I believe that Racing Bulls, and on top of that, Isaac Hadjar got his first podium at Zandvoort. A lot of things happen at Zandvoort. That's probably the third time I've said Zandvoort in this broadcast. He got his podium at Zandvoort. I don't think there's going to be any more podiums for this team, or at least I don't think there's going to be podiums this season. I think they're going to go back to being like a midfield team. I haven't. I'm not going to say where they're going to place in the Constructors' Championship, because that is that's another prediction that I have, and I don't want to spoil it. But I don't think they're going to finish P6. They will not finish P6 in the standing. And that rounds out the top of the bingo card. So now we'll move on to the second row here. But before we start the second row, I gotta play it. I have to play it. You unlock this door with the key of delusion. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of hope, a dimension of strategy, a dimension where this is finally our year. You're moving into a land of bullshit and tactical heartbreak. You've just crossed over into the Tifosi. By the way, I am warning you guys that may not be the last time I play that. I've tried to group my all of my delusions about Ferrari somewhat in the same row, but obviously some of them are not on the bingo card, like my Constructors' Championship standings and stuff. And so I'm not going to say where exactly they finish. I do think they will finish P3 or above in the Constructors' standings. That's all I will say. And for the first box in the second row on the Zachary Brown Broadcast F1 bingo card, Lewis Hamilton wins a race for the Scuderia. I know. I'm very hopeful, but like, hear me out, all right? As a Ferrari fan, like, the testing has looked very promising for us. And this may be the only time of the year where I can have, like, genuine hope, all right? So let me have this one, all right? Let me have this one. And following that, speaking of the Scuderia and victory, the second box is Ferrari victory at Monza, all right? Even if you're not a Ferrari fan, you love to see it, you know? They're absolutely crazy. I would love to join the Monza mosh pit, as I call it, after Ferrari wins a race. Ferrari victory at Monza. I do not think it'll be a 1-2, but I do believe they will have the victory there. Judging by the pace of their car, they look really fast on the straights, which is very important at Monza. So fingers crossed. Ferrari victory at Monza. That is the second square. Into our third box of the second row, Leclerc wins more than 3 races. That's all I will say on that, because I will have more stuff on the World Drivers' Championship standings later. But Leclerc will win more than 3 races. That is my prediction. This next square is going to be a little bit different from all the other squares, because this square is going to have a bonus point. And this square is innovation gets banned, bonus point if it's because of Red Bull. How the bonus point will work is that if an innovation gets banned, I cross out the square. But if an innovation gets banned and it's because of Red Bull, which, to be frank, a lot of innovations have been that before. Remember the Ferrari engine trick in 2019? That was Red Bull who protested it. Red Bull protested Mercedes quite a bit. Red Bull's kind of the king of complaining when it comes to innovation on Formula One. So how the bonus point will work is if the innovation, so it can be anything. It can be the Ferrari rear wing. It can be um the Mercedes engine. It could be it could be anything. It could be something that's not out yet. Who knows? Like Aston Martin could potentially roll up with like some thing in Australia that we had no idea about and win like P1 by like 2 minutes. I don't know. I do know because I have Aston Martin later in my predictions. But how the bonus point will work, I've probably said this so many times. How the bonus point will work is if that innovation is banned because of Red Bull, that means that I will get that bonus point, and that means I can cross out any of the boxes that I did not get. So say, for example, at the end of the season, I have that bonus point, and Hamilton did not win a race. I can cross out Hamilton wins a race. Of course, there'd be an asterisk next to it, and I'd put down like bonus point or something. But yeah, and you guys can do the bonus point with how you wish. Like I said, I'm going to share the bingo card with you guys. But yeah, innovation gets banned, bonus point if it's because of Red Bull. And to round out the second row of the Zachary Brown Broadcast F1 bingo card, Maxi Pad Verstappen leaves F1. I think he's going to do it. He's been very critical of the cars. He said that it's like Formula E on steroids, which, by the way, is not a compliment. He said that the car isn't fun to drive, and he has stated in interviews that even if the car was, like, if he had a championship-winning car, if it wasn't fun to drive, he would leave. And I think this era of car, I don't think he's going to like it because there's going to be a lot of buttons he's going to have to press. And he's going to say it's not pure racing. So I think he is going to leave Formula One during the 2026 season, and he's going to move to endurance racing. I don't know what sector of endurance racing. I'm imagine Intercontinental GT Challenge, just so he can race the Nürburgring and Spa. But who knows? He may race the World Endurance Championship and race at Le Mans. I don't know. I'm not Max Verstappen, but I am peering a little bit into his head, and I do think he will leave Formula One at the end of 2026. So there we go. That is our F1 bingo card. Second row done. Moving down to the third row, the first box. Our first prediction, all right? Square one of the third row. Colton Herta replaces Bottas at Cadillac for 2027. And this one I had to think about because when you look at the two drivers that Cadillac has, Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas, they're quite similar. They played second fiddle to their. They weren't the number one driver at their team, and the main reason that I'm saying that they'll keep Checo and not Valtteri is because Checo brings in a bunch of money. He brings in all that sweet Mexican money, while Valtteri Bottas does not bring in a lot of that sweet Finnish money, if that is even a thing. So it could very well be. Do you know what? I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it because that's gonna be the next prediction. That's literally the next prediction on the card. I almost spoiled it. But yeah, Colton Herta will be called up from Formula 2 to replace Valtteri Bottas for the 2027 Formula 1 season and beyond. All right, square two of the Zachary Brown Broadcast F1 bingo card. Valtteri Bottas outperforms Checo Perez. And the reason I say that is that Valtteri has had experience with the car. He's been a reserve. The thing I'm trying to say is that he's been a reserve driver and Checo wasn't. So I feel he has like a slight edge because he has like simulator time and he has like he helped Mercedes, I think, design the car. I'm not entirely sure, but he has some time on the simulator. I know that for a fact that Checo Perez did not have. So I believe that Valtteri Bottas will beat Checo Perez in the driver's standings. And for our free space, like I said before, it's FIA is the real villain. That's pretty self-explanatory. Fuck the FIA. Following the free space, the next box is Audi double DNF. And some people are going, but Zachary, Audi's showing really good pace. Yeah, I know, voices in my head. However, you have to remember the team that they took over. They took over Sauber, alright? Sauber does not scream excellence like Mercedes or Ferrari or Red Bull does. Sauber screams, hey, we won the Canadian Grand Prix that one time with Robert Kubica when we were technically known as BMW. And then we also got the podium with Nico Hülkenberg at Silverstone because we got lucky with the strategy. That is Sauber. And that's the team they've taken over. And with these new engines, with the new regs, I believe Audi will have a double DNF this season. And let me clarify. I'll actually clarify it. Double mechanical DNF. There, I'm changing it. There we go. Because that's what my point was originally, but I mean, the two Mercedes drivers could just take the drivers out and then that box out. But that's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I'm predicting. However, speaking of Mercedes, for the last box in row 3, Osama bin Russell will jihad it into the World Trade Barrier at Barcelona. And the reason I say that is that Osama has quite the reputation when it comes to new tracks. In 2023, Osama bin Russell had 4 DNFs. One in Australia, one in Canada, one in Singapore, and one at Sao Paulo. And in 2024, Osama had 3 DNFs. One in Australia again, one at Silverstone, and then one at Spa. Now, the one at Spa is an asterisk, because technically he did not DNF. However, he was disqualified following the 2024 Belgian Grand Prix at Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps. But 2025, there were 0 DNFs. Nothing regarding accidents or mechanical failure. And I think the racing gods are unhappy. I think Osama bin Russell, and on top of that, what I've noticed in testing and what a bunch of people have noticed in testing is that these cars seem to lock up a lot easier than the previous generation of car. And so I would not be surprised if Osama, approaching that very high speed turn at Barcelona, hits the brakes and locks up the wheels and jihads it into the World Trade Barrier. So yeah, that rounds out row 3 of the Zachary Brown Broadcast bingo card for Formula 1. And we now move down to row 4. And by the way, row 5 is going to be my predictions. So, like, my Constructors Championship, Drivers Championship. Well, I can't do Rookie of the Year this year because there's only one rookie. So it would be Arvid Lindblad no matter what. I guess I could do best race, what I think the best race would be and what the worst race will be. I don't know. We'll see. I shouldn't do worst race because it's going to be Monaco. Everybody's talking about, the cars are so much smaller. But they're about the same size as, like, the 2020 or 2021 cars. They're not, like, incredibly small like they were back in, like, the 90s or the 80s. They're just smaller than the boats that we had in 2022 through 2025. Anyway, starting off, row 4 in box 1 is Papaya Rules bullshit. That's all I have written down. And I don't even think McLaren have to be... Obviously, McLaren are the defending driver and constructors champions from 2025. So there is going to be... I doubt they're coming into 2026 with a stinker like Aston Martin did. But I think there will be some Papaya Rules bullshit in there. And frankly, if it was up to me, like, Lando Norris has gotten, by Papaya Rules, Lando Norris has gotten his World Drivers' Champion. That means they need to start screwing over Lando Norris now so Oscar Piastri would get World Drivers' Champion. Spoiler alert, I do not think Oscar Piastri will be the World Drivers' Champion. I will say that. But yeah, there will be some Papaya Rules bullshit somewhere on later in the race. In the second box of the fourth row, I have written down F1 graphics don't help. And what I mean by don't help is that this generation of car is very complex, all right? They've got to manage their battery and they've got to manage a bunch of other stuff on the car. They're a lot like wet hypercars, actually, when you think about it. But one of the big talking points is how is Formula One going to convey all of this information in a relatively simple way to the viewer so that they can easily understand. And that is my prediction. They won't. The F1 graphic will not help people understand what is going on. So yeah, that is my prediction for the second box of the fourth row. F1 graphics do not help. Third prediction of the fourth row. And this is where things get interesting here. Oscar Piastri will break the Australia curse. And if you are unfamiliar with what the Australian curse is that since Albert Park was introduced as a circuit in 1996, 1998, somewhere around then, no driver has finished on the podium who is of Australian descent. And I believe that Oscar Piastri will break that curse and finish on the podium at the season opener in Australia. All right, moving on to the fourth box of the fourth row. We only have 6 boxes left, not counting this one. Fernando Alonso, top 5 finish. I know in the previous broadcasts, all I did was slander Aston Martin. I believe one of the broadcast thumbnails that I have is literally just a trash bin on fire with me photoshopping the Aston Martin logo so it says Aston Martin on it because I'm really funny like that. However, Fernando Alonso is a merchant, and I believe if we get a wet race, he can potentially bring that pile of crap into a top 5 finish. I'm not ambitious enough to say a podium. Obviously, if he did get a podium, that would cross it off, as a podium is considered a top 5 finish. But yeah, I'm not saying Fernando Alonso is going to podium, but I do think he will get a top 5 finish. And to round out the the Zachary Brown broadcast Formula One bingo card for the fourth row is Formula One actually uses the wet tire. In case you're confused by what I'm saying, these last generation of cars, Formula One was very scared to have them race in the rain. They raced in the rain in Brazil, and it was an absolute masterclass. But they said, no, no, no. And that's why the Grand Prix at Spa sucked so much ass last year. Is because they wouldn't let the drivers race in the rain. And because they have a wet tire, but they don't use it until now. And that's what I'm predicting. Formula One will actually use the wet tire. Or, let me clarify, the full wet tire. Because you have the intermediate and the full wet tire. They will use the full wet tire in a race session. Moving on to the final row of the Zachary Brown broadcast F1 2026 season bingo card. And we're going to start off bold with this one. We're starting off bold. Verstappen will not be a World Drivers' Championship contender. I know. Hear me out. Verstappen has already displeased his interest in, or he's already shown his disinterest in the cars. And on top of that, a lot of teams seem to have, this is a clean slate, all right? I don't think Red Bull's going to go off running away with it like they did in 2022 and 2023. I think it's going to be a lot different. And I think ultimately, I'm not saying he's not going to be up there. I still think he's going to get, finish, in the top 5 of the standings. But I don't think he will have enough points come Abu Dhabi to be a contender for the World Drivers' Championship like he did in 2025, which, by the way, was an incredible drive, and I'm not even a Verstappen fan. Moving on to the second box of the final row, Fernando Alonso radio crash out. This one's more of a free space because I know it's going to happen, but I had to put it in there. I honestly look forward to it. Or I guess look forward's not the right word to use because I want him to be I want him to do well, but honestly, he has some of the funniest crash outs in the history of the sport. So yeah, Fernando Alonso radio crash out is the second box in the final row. And now for my final predictions. It'll be which team will finish last, which team will finish first in the constructors, and which driver will finish first in the Drivers' Championship. So, this is pretty close, but despite the absolute shitbag that they have built, Cadillac will finish P11 in the Constructors' Championship in 2026. Obviously, Cadillac is the new team, and unlike Audi, they're not taking over an existing team. It's an entirely new operation, and yeah, they're going to have teething problems. So I believe Cadillac will finish last in the World's Constructors' Championship. Now, nobody really cares about who finishes last, but people care about who finishes first. And I believe it will come down to 2 teams that will finish first in the World Constructors' Championship. McLaren will not be able to hold on to their championship, or they won't be able to defend their championship like they did in 2025. I believe the championship will go down to 2 teams, and those 2 teams are Mercedes and Ferrari. And of those 2 teams to win the Constructors' Championship, I think that Mercedes is going to win the World Constructors' Championship for the 2026 Formula One season. And the reason I say that is that Mercedes does look strong. And initially looking at the Ferraris, they're not, you'd look at them and go, oh, the Ferrari's a rocket ship compared to the Mercedes in testing. But remember, it is testing. And also, it is Ferrari. The second box that I wrote on here was Ferrari fucks up strategy. So, we got to keep that in mind, all right? However, our World Drivers' Championship is different. This is our final box for the Zachary Brown Broadcast 2026 Formula One season bingo card. And I believe that the World Drivers' Championship will come down to 3 drivers. Kimi Talabantinelli, George Russell, and Charles Leclerc. And of those 3 drivers to win the World Drivers' Championship, my pick for the 2026 Formula One World Drivers' Championship is Charles Leclerc, baby. We are entering a new era of regulations here, all right? And I wholeheartedly believe with my heart, I am being genuine when I say this, that Charles Leclerc will be your World Drivers' Champion in 2026. It is long overdue, not just for him, but for Ferrari as a whole. Sebastian Vettel in 2017, Sebastian Vettel in 2018, Charles Leclerc in 2022. Like all these. Those are just the first that come to mind. Even Felipe Massa in 2008. We have it is time for a Ferrari championship, and I believe that time is now. Charles Leclerc will be your World Drivers' Champion for 2026. And with that, the Zachary Brown Broadcast 2026 Formula One season bingo card is officially complete. So like I said before, if you guys want to play along, you guys can download the bingo card, cross it out with me, abuse that bonus point that I had earlier if that happens. If not, then I wasted more than half an hour explaining the bingo card. But anyway, those are my Formula One predictions down. All right? And now we move on to IndyCar. And IndyCar, there's less predictions because they all use the Dallara chassis. It's not like Formula One. They use a spec chassis, but they use different motors. So, there isn't necessarily like a constructors championship like there is in IndyCar or like there is in Formula One. So there's going to be less predictions. It's more going to be about wins and like Rookie of the Year, Indy 500 winner. It's more going to be stuff like that than actual like technical stuff. And so I believe for my first NTT IndyCar Series prediction for the 2026 season is that Will Power will win a race with his debut season at Andretti. I don't know when. He could do it at St. Pete. I doubt it. He could do it at Barber. He could do it at Gateway. I don't know. All I'm predicting is that somewhere in between now and the final race at Laguna Seca, Will Power will win a race with Andretti. And moving on to that, staying with Andretti, I wrote down Marcus Ericsson returns to victory lane. Marcus Ericsson has been long overdue for a win. He was really good in that Ganassi car in that number 8. Even winning the 2022 Indy 500, he should have won the 2023 Indy 500, but I think I've already ranted about that. Fuck Joseph Newgarden. He almost won it in 2025 as well. He finished second behind Alex Palou. I do believe Alex Palou was the better driver that day. That's how he got passed. And then the car was disqualified because of plank wear. So that was not cool. This is a make or break year for Ericsson. If Ericsson does not perform in that Andretti seat this year, he will be dropped. And what I think as long as he gets a race win, it doesn't even have to be anything like the Indy 500. Obviously, if he wins the Indy 500, they'll probably keep him because he seems to be kind of like a merchant around IMS. But even at a race like if he wins Arlington, because historically he's good at street circuits, you know. In 2023, he won at St. Pete, so who knows? He could win at St. Pete. I'm not predicting which race he's going to win. I'm just saying he will return to victory lane after this drought. He has not visited it since 2023. Like I said, when he was with Ganassi, and so now he's with Andretti, and it's just been underperforming. But I think he will get a win this season. Moving on to my biggest surprise of the year, I think it's going to be Valentino Rossi. And the reason I say that is that the Ed Carpenter cars, they were quick in the Phoenix testing. And obviously, like I said, it was just testing. But they were quick last season as well. Even to the point where their other driver, Christian Rasmussen, won at the Milwaukee Mile, beating Alex Palou. And that is something that's not an easy task to beat Alex Palou. So yeah, I think Alexander Rossi will outperform Christian Rasmussen. And I believe he will be like the biggest surprise. I don't think he's necessarily going to go for wins, but I do think that he will have like a good like string of like top 5 finishes, which will put him at the end of the season like in the top 10 in point standings. So that I just hit the mic again. You guys, that was probably what the wobble was. But yeah, so that is my prediction for biggest surprise of the year. And obviously with biggest surprise, we have to have biggest letdown. And I could go the easy route and say Kai Collette. But that feels like it's cheating because Kai Collette is in AJ Foyt machinery, and AJ Foyt machinery is doo-doo awful garbage. And so I will not say Kai Collette just because of that. I believe if Kai Collette was in a different chassis, or not a different chassis, but with a different team, maybe things would be different. There's a giant fuck-ass mosquito flying in my room right now. I gotta kill that thing. Hang on. Okay, the fucker just flew up into the air vent. Yeah. Oh, you're coming back down. You're coming back down? Alright. Come here, asswipe. Come here. I fucking hate mosquitoes. I hate mosquitoes with a passion. How long into the broadcast are we right now? 43 minutes. Fuck. Alright. I gotta wrap this up quick. Alright. So yeah, Kai Collette. Obviously that's the low blow for the biggest disappointment of the year. I will not say Kai Collette. However, what I can say is Santino Ferrucci. And I know what some people are saying, particularly the voices in my head. But Zachary, Santino Ferrucci finished on the podium in Road America. He shotgunned the beer in front of the fans. Yeah, I know. But here's the thing. Alright? I don't think Santino Ferrucci is going to get another podium. And I think that he just doesn't have it in him. With the competition right now, especially with Penske and Ganassi, you look at their lineup, and their lineup is incredible, and the Andretti lineup is incredible, and the McLaren lineup is incredible. So That is 12 drivers that you have to beat. More like 10. Nolan Siegel is kind of ass. Kiffin Simpson's alright. He's not ass, but he's alright. But David Malukas is fast. David Malukas replacing... He's going into the number 12 seat this year, and he is fast. He used to be in the number 4 seat that Kai Collette is now in, and he dragged that pig up to P2. So I can only imagine what this kid can do with Penske power. But anyway, that is my biggest letdown of the year will be Santino Ferrucci. All right, rookie of the year. Let's go through the rookies. Actually, I don't need to. My 2026 NTT IndyCar Series Rookie of the Year is going to be Mick Schumacher. And some people might go, but Zachary, Mick Schumacher competed in Formula One. He's not a rookie. Yeah, well, this is his first season in IndyCar, and therefore that classifies him as a rookie on the IndyCar grid. Therefore, that's why I'm saying he will get Rookie of the Year, because he has that experience in Formula One. He has that experience winning the Formula 2 championship. He has that experience with Alpine in the World Endurance Championship. He's not a new kid on the block, per se. I'm looking forward to see him race. But yeah, I saw him during the Phoenix test, and the times that he was putting in were quite quick. And the kid's never driven on an oval before, so we'll see. Now for Indy 500 pole, because this is. I originally was just going to do Indy 500 winner, but then I realized that the voices in my head would get mad at me if I did not do the poll, who got pole position for the Indy 500. And honestly, it's a crapshoot. But my prediction for pole position for the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500 presented by Gamebridge, I would be an excellent commentator because I remember all like the sponsor names and stuff. Anyway, my prediction for pole position is Pato O'Ward. I think Pato O'Ward will get pole position for the 2026 Indy 500, or also known as the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500 presented by Gamebridge. Now, obviously getting pole at the Indy 500 is one achievement, but a different achievement that dwarfs it in comparison is winning it. And I believe that the driver that will be drinking the milk after the Indy 500 will not be Pato O'Ward. Pato O'Ward will not be able to convert his pole position to a win. The last time that has been done was Simon Pagenaud in 2019, and then Helio Castroneves in 2009. And then it gets kind of murky because you had the split happen, and then it was all weird from like 96 to 07. But yeah, so I do not believe Pato O'Ward will drink the milk. I believe the driver that will win the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500 will be Scott McLaughlin. Scott McLaughlin has previously gotten pole at the Indy 500. He has gotten a fastest lap at the Indy 500. He's kind of done everything at the Indy 500 other than win it. I do not believe that it will be a Penske perfect win. I don't think it will be like him just driving off into the distance and him winning it. It will be fairly close, but I think Scott McLaughlin will win the 2026 Indy 500. And to round off my NTT IndyCar Series championship predictions for the series championship, Alex Palou is gunning for a 5th championship title. Between 2021 and 2025, He has won every single championship other than 2022, which was won by Will Power. 2024 may have been different had they actually done Will Power's seatbelt correctly, but who knows? All right. I do. Alex Palou has a real shot at getting that 5th title. And if he does, he will. He already will be a legend. He will be talked in like the same groups as like Al Unser Jr., Rick Mears. Like he has his Indy 500 win. He has his championship wins. He's won on every single track, or he's won on every type of track. Short oval, super speedway, street course, road course. Yeah, he's going to be in that discussion. However, there is one driver that I think will beat him in 2026. And that driver is my prediction for the 2026 for the IndyCar Championship. And that driver, this driver already has a record on his hands. All right. And he already is cemented as one of the greats of all time with this record. And he has a possibility to extend it here in the 2026 season. And that driver is Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon right now sits behind AJ Foyt as the greatest IndyCar driver of all time statistically. AJ Foyt holds the all-time record for not only just for championships but also for race victories. AJ Foyt holds or has 67 victories. 6-7. I'm gonna blow my brains out after this. He has 67 victories. However, he's driven a lot longer than Scott Dixon. He drove from 1957 to 1993. So that's like 36 years? Something like that. While Scott Dixon has been driving for 1 decade less. I believe this is his 25th season in IndyCar. But Scott Dixon has 59 wins. And if Scott Dixon can pull off another win, just a race win, he will join AJ Foyt in the elusive 60 Club. And if he can pull off the championship, which I believe he will tie AJ Foyt with the most championships in IndyCar history. So, yeah, those are my predictions for the NTT IndyCar Series in 2026. If you don't agree with me on any of them, that's too bad because this is my broadcast. And now watch as Alex Palou wins every single race by 2 minutes. Thank you for listening to episode 9 of the Zachary Brown broadcast. And I wish you a very good rest of your day or night or whenever you're listening to this. And to close off the broadcast, what better than to bring out the kazoo again? I'm just joking. I can't do the kazoo right now. My throat actually really hurts, and so there will be no kazoo outro. But pretend that there is. Pretend I'm playing Kickstart My Heart on the kazoo here, alright? Alright, whoa, I'm playing it right now. That's so awesome. That's so dope. And now I'm going to hit the stop recording button right now while I'm doing it. And I'm not going to do any cool fading tricks or anything because that's mega